The question has been asked, why is Israel treated differently by being singled out in the bill? The short answer is because Israel is already treated differently and is singled out, both by international institutions and by too many public bodies here in the UK. And that differential treatment and singling out has real effects, not just on the state of Israel, but also, and this is my focus, on civil society in the UK. This bill puts Israel into a special category because Israel is put by others, both internationally and nationally, into a special category. First, internationally. Last year, the United Nations General Assembly condemned Israel 14 times. The rest of the world put together, 7. Since 2015, the score stands at Israel 140, the whole of the rest of the world put together, 68. The UN Human Rights Council has a standing agenda item, Item 7, which is focused on Israel, and only on Israel. This is the same UN Human Rights Council that just 2 days after the October the 7th massacre held a minute's silence to mourn, and I quote from their own website, the loss of innocent lives in the occupied Palestinian territory and elsewhere. Elsewhere. For 2,000 years, the Jewish people had nowhere. Now, according to the United Nations Human Rights Council, they have an elsewhere. All of this is not because Israel is wicked, let alone uniquely wicked. It's because internationally, Israel is treated differently and is singled out. Second, Israel is also treated differently and is singled out by public bodies here in the UK. In 2020, the Welsh Government brought out a new national procurement note, singling out Israel, and only Israel, for potential sanctions. A decade earlier, West Dunbartonshire Council adopted a policy on boycotting Israeli and only Israeli goods, including even printed books in Israel. So the sermons of Jesus printed in totalitarian China were permitted, but banned if printed in the place where he actually delivered them. A number of English councils implemented BDS against Israeli and only Israeli products, including Leicester in 2014 and Lancaster in 2021. In 2014, Birmingham Council threatened not to renew a contract with Veolia because of its activity in the West Bank. Perhaps the now insolvent Birmingham Council should have focused rather less on the West Bank and more on its own bank. But my third point, it's not only the fact that Israel is treated differently. Anti-Israel resolutions and boycotts have a different and dramatic effect on civil society. The correlation is clear and unambiguous. When Israel is targeted, it ends up with attacks on Jews. I am not saying that all anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, although a lot of it is, especially when Israel and only Israel is singled out for condemnation and boycott. And you can support Israel but oppose its present government, as do many of my friends in Israel. The opposition benches in this House demonstrate that you can critique a government but support the state. But let's be clear. When you chant from the river to the sea, you are not critiquing the Israeli government. You are calling for the destruction of Israel. And what we are seeing increasingly is anti-Israel rhetoric blurring into demonizing and attacking Jews. Zionists is being used as a code word for Jews. And it is a code word, because who are these Zionists? The overwhelming majority of Jews, both in the UK and around the world, are Zionists because of our history, ancient and modern. We have prayed for and facing the land of Israel for thousands of years. We know the cost in terms of Jewish lives of not having a state of Israel, and we also know the price paid in lives for having that state. Many of us have family there, in what is now the world's largest Jewish community. And so when Israel is singled out, The inevitable effect is that Jews, regardless of their passports or their politics, are also singled out in commerce, in culture, and in education. In commerce, when Sainsbury's removed kosher food from their shelves by giving in to anti-Israel protesters, it was Jews who couldn't buy food, a scene repeated in the Republic of Ireland only last week. Culture. 2 weeks ago, a Jewish member of the audience at the Soho Theatre was sworn at by Paul Curry, an anti-Semite masquerading as a comic, because he wouldn't stand in respect when a Palestinian flag was unveiled on stage. Much of the rest of the audience then joined in the chanting against him. Another London theatre cancelled an event hosted by a UK Jewish charity raising money for Israeli students because the staff refused to come into work. Universities. The Jewish chaplain at Leeds University is now in hiding together with his family because he's been targeted by protesters who also daubed anti-Israel slogans on the Jewish Society building. And when students marched through Birmingham University with a banner reading "Zionists off our campus," what they meant in practice is "No Jews here." Because the vast majority of Jewish students, like the overwhelming majority of the Jewish community, believe in an independent Jewish state. That's what Zionism is. And if, like His Majesty's government, you support a two-state solution, which calls for a safe and secure Israel alongside a Palestinian state, then you are a Zionist too. All of this is a problem for Jews, but it is a tragedy for everyone else. A society which permits anti-Semitism is a society which is suffering from a terminal illness. That is an iron rule of history. Anti-Semitism destroys any society which harbours it.